Hello, everyone. So here we're today talking about the Fullcast Performance product line. So the purpose of the Fullcast Performance product is to help revenue organizations really automate performance management to ensure their individual contributors and even their managers are actually coached and held accountable using data. And so what we've seen in the industry is just that it's a struggle to manage ICs consistently and proactively, no matter their role of, an outside seller, an inside seller, SDR, BDR, XDR, sales engineer, solutions engineer, CSM, AM, the list goes on and on. And really what we've seen is the biggest problem that organizations are setting themselves up with is that the frontline manager of these folks is generally the linchpin, and we're not supporting them the way that we need to. So if you think about a revenue organization, that frontline manager is usually the person responsible for ensuring that reps are hitting KPIs, making sure they're busy enough to hit their quotas and other revenue targets. But ultimately, those are also the people in the organization that have the most limited bandwidth. And if you think about how we have traditionally helped CSM managers, AM managers, sales managers, SDR managers stay on top of large spans of control. So lots of different reps with lots of different things happening is we just put Salesforce dashboards in front of them. Generally speaking, and this is not true of everyone, most managers don't have the time or the enablement to really be able to play data analysts. So dig into these Salesforce dashboards, get powerful insights about how different metrics connect, where people are outperforming, where people are underperforming. So a lot of times, revenue operations teams, BI teams will spend a lot of time and energy creating these resources that ultimately go underutilized and maybe get dusted off at QBR season or when they have a rep they need to put on a PIP. So instead, what we tend to see is a lot of frontline managers, no matter the role they're managing, really try and play super IC. So getting involved in as many of the deals as possible, making sure they're really driving the results on that forecast across their team. And it's just not sustainable and it doesn't develop humans and really raise the average performance across an organization. So, what we've built with Fullcast Performance over the last 10 years is first off, a very easy to use go to market specific BI. So, it's a system that plugs into your sources of truth, where the work is happening across a revenue organization. So, think Salesforce CRM, think email and calendar data directly, whether that's from Microsoft or that's from Google, and even places like Gong where call recording happening, and maybe we want to get a better understanding of what's happening in those calls, those behaviors. We take all of that data from its sources, packages it up, and give you over 150 metrics directly to go out of the box. If those 150 don't fit your needs, we'll just custom code more. So really the first layer here being, the ability to provide your CRO, your VPs, your RVPs, your frontline managers, your directors, your managers, and even your reps, the data they've been asking for, but maybe don't use quite as frequently as you want. The second step is we've built an intelligence layer on top of it. So really an insights layer, so to speak, to help democratize the insights out of that data. And again, ensure that people are actually consuming and acting on the information that's being provided. So that comes in three flavors. We have a direct to rep AI sales coach that's chugging through all that data about that rep specifically, how they're doing against KPIs and goals, how they're doing against their peer averages. If it's a ramping rep, how they're doing at that point in ramp. And then we're actually just presenting that back in a very friendly way to the rep to show them what they're doing well. And then, 2 to 3 areas at a time they could be focused on with their enablement team, with their manager, learning from their peers to give them a better chance at being a high performer. The second piece is this automated goal tracking widget. So what this is doing is taking all the KPIs top to bottom in your GTM organization as laid out by your CRO, your RevOps team, et cetera, and trickling those down to every level. So you can see things like team total and team average performance against targets, leading and lagging, as well as down at a manager and a rep level. So we can see, hey, over time, we've been focused on prospecting, we've been focused on sales velocity, maybe we've been focused on pipeline hygiene or just plain old territory activation. How are we doing against those things week over week, month over month, quarter over quarter? Are we getting better at doing what we said we were going to do? And then finally, the last piece here of the intelligence layer is really your manager AI copilot. So I say manager, this definitely applies to the frontline manager, but it also applies all the way through the management stack in your organization. So think um, overview of insights for a regional VP, a regional president, right? A country manager, a CRO, whatever that role is, rolling up to manage people. We are giving them an overview of everything that's happening in the teams or the humans below them. So they always have their pulse on the finger of, hey, what do I need to be in front of to unlock more performance out of this team? Right. And again, this is all based on your initiatives, the data that matters to your GTM organization, and what's top of mind for you. So let's take a step back and talk a little bit about when revenue teams would actually consider purchasing the product I'm about to walk you through today. Generally, there's kind of three themes that we see of like, okay, it's time to try something different. The first being budgets are tight. Revenue operations and data resources are generally limited in a lot of organizations. And if you are fortunate enough to work at an organization who's invested in a data team or a BI team, a lot of their resource hours are spent at the top of the organization, meaning they're focused on supporting the C suite, they're focused on board reporting, they're focused on reporting to the street. So, what does that mean? Everyone below them in terms of management, middle management, VPs, RVPs, et cetera, generally goes underserved. So we want to fix that problem and automate the process and augment the team. The second reason that we see things happen is a lot of organizations that invest not fully in that BI layer, that data layer, they end up with a small subset of data folks, RevOps folks on the side that are screaming from the sidelines where the problems are, but maybe they're not getting down into the granular details that each rep and each manager needs. So a lot of times it doesn't end up affecting the change that the investment was made, to see happen. And then finally, no matter the situation of data reporting, analysis, no matter how sharp your folks are, generally the third flavor that overarches all of our customers is, the head of revenue operations, the head of, sales, the CRO, whatever that role is in your organization, they're prescribing a specific behavior, right? I want you to have territory penetration across at least 75% of your accounts. I need you to be having 10 customer facing or prospect facing meetings a week. I need you to generate X amount of pipeline out of your territory per month. Whatever those things are, a lot of times when we get down lower and lower within the organization to the managers, to the reps, the reality just does not match that prescription. And it's usually coming down to a coaching and accountability question, right? Of are we doing the right things day in and day out to actually hit our numbers to grow as a business? So, all of this to say, these are very general situations. Again, this will be tailored to whatever metrics, whatever topics are really important for your organization right now. And then that'll change over time. So, to support that, right, no matter what type of issue or what type of topic or initiative you're trying to drive, we can create the reporting, the metrics, the analysis, and then the automated accountability and coaching required of that data. So we've gone through and worked with our hundreds of customers to create thousands and thousands of metrics that we can easily drag and drop into your organization or tweak to fit your needs, whether it's around activity and prospecting efficiency, sales methodology rigor, um, accounts account strategy and customer expansion, ROI, customer health and retention, you name it. If we can pull in the data, we can actually create a process by which you can drive change management with that data. So getting to it, what does this thing look like? starting with that general BI layer. Again, don't pay too much attention to what the metrics are that I'm showing you. This all gets customized to your organization. But ultimately, the base layer of this entire platform is the ability to caveat any of the metrics that you want in the system. So this is an example of a cross-sell dashboard for a CRO wanting to know exactly which of his reps are participating and, are we actually getting product wins across our 3 product families, right? And then getting down into the nitty-gritty of like, well, what type of revenue is coming from each product line? What are our attach rates for each product line? So you can see kind of a problem area with this middle media intelligence product. And we can see it all the way through the leading indicators of how many products are in pipe, how much interest has been marked by the rep in each product line on their opportunities, all the way down into even things like mention rates of the product on calls that are being recorded and gone. All of this data is very easy to use. You can actually get into, well, what makes up this data set, right? What are these deals that have media intelligence interest? We're struggling in this area. I really want to make sure we actually have potential across more of our ops. Like, what is happening with this Vulture Police account? What is making them have this interest compared to everyone else, right? Or maybe you want to be able to see trends over time, right? You're sitting there on a Sunday night trying to plan for the week. You want to know, are we talking about media intelligence or not? Is that actually getting better or worse over time, right? So trend analysis, are these reps talking about it more or less quarter over quarter? It looks like it's a newer product for them, but we're definitely seeing most reps head in the right direction. But maybe I want to go check in on Mr. Big here and understand why he's moved away from talking about this product over the last 3 quarters, right? So whatever those initiatives are, we can certainly spin up metrics and dashboards as the base layer to power it all. Really, though, where we're able to affect the change management and democratize the insights coming out of this information, though, is with that intelligence layer. So the Rancis team here, think of it as me logged in as a chief revenue officer or VP of sales, sitting over 6 or 7 teams within an organization. This CRO is getting an email digest of the information here on the left sent to them every Monday so they can stay on top of what's going well across the specific teams that roll into them and maybe what's not. Maybe for you, it's regions. Maybe for you, it's reps. But you can see on the left here, everything laid out of like, hey, what's going well right now? Like, what do I want to give maybe a high five to in my management meeting? Oh, well, the JP team has a higher average contract value than they ever have month over month over month, or I guess quarter over quarter. They're still a little shy of the goal we set, but man, are they really making progress. What are things that are happening across the org we all need to be aware of? Well, right now we're seeing low call and email activity, right? We're seeing challenges with self-set meetings as a result. Shocker, low activity, low self-sets. And we're also seeing issues with pipeline and conversion rates, right? Specifically the JP, Gamma, Prince, and Fife teams, they have problems with their value and conversion rate. And I can just click in to see what that data is, where the problems are. In the case of the JP team, it's a conversion rate of their connects when they're trying to call people to set meetings. That's leading to them not set enough, self-set meetings on the month or on the quarter, and leading to them having a lower pipeline owned value than their like comparable team in the chef team, right? So this type of intelligence can be tailored to what you care about, but then spread down through the organization. So if we then go look at the doctor team, we're now at a manager layer where this manager is getting verticalized information that the CRO has dictated they care about them managing to, but specifically just for their team, whether it's how their team compares to the other comparable team in the same segment, or getting down into a quick rep by rep. Where do you need to put your extra attention right now? Who deserves a high five? And maybe we want to copy what they're doing across the rest of the team. And then a quick Monday morning overview of, hey, what do you got to focus on with each rep right now to help? Right. And then finally, drilling all the way down the stack to the ICs themselves, right? We want to democratize this data so they can self-manage, they can bring questions to their enablement and management team. So they're also getting this type of information pushed to them every week, right? So this is what we call a performance check-in. It's that last piece where you can actually track which managers and which reps are going in and reviewing the information and are they getting better because of it. So Gus here right? I won't go through all the details, but you can see here's all the metrics we've determined that this org cares about and wants to monitor for this rep. It can be a lot, it can be very few. That said, this rep has three problems they need to focus on with their manager: increasing their self-set performance, increasing their call to connect conversion, right? We're suggesting that, they need to refine their call scripts as well as the people they're outreaching to, as well as they need to boost their reply rates and engagement, right? This rep is having some issues with spray and pray. It's very clear. They're sending more emails. They have a lower reply rate than the rest of the team. They're making calls, but they're not getting connects. This person needs to take a more strategic view of their prospecting. And that's what I would focus on in the one-on-one if I was a manager. And then finally, we can see, hey, how are we doing as we do this work? Are we getting better? Are we reaching these goals? And we can see it very clearly based on the weekly, monthly, and quarterly goals that have been set. This rep is fluctuating. They're doing okay at volumes of activity, but that's not leading to them having great current quarter coverage, next quarter coverage. As of late, they're not getting the self sets they need to build that coverage. And then finally, we can see how that's actually affecting their ability to hit their quarterly goals of things like average contract values, conversion rates through the top of the funnel, and win rates from the bottom of the funnel. Right. So again, if I'm to leave you with anything, we're going beyond the typical BI that sits on the shelf and gets dusty and moving into a world where we can use LLMs and intelligence layers to make sure all of your information is actioned and your reps, managers, et cetera, are all coached and held accountable to what needs to be done to move the needle.